Picture this. You're travelling, the immense central heartland of our Australia. The land's reddish-brown, baked hard by that sun. It's scattered with intermittent wiry brush. Above you, the vast, limitless blue sky. Ahead, a dirt road. You're travelling about 90 kilometres an hour now. That's a bit too fast to be safe, but it's fast enough to avoid the bone-shattering corrugations you're going to hit from time to time for kilometres at a stretch. Hurtling down that road, massive cloud of red dust billowing out behind you. You come to a rusted-out 44-gallon drum, and on it is painted the words in white, "Lift 'em foot." Lift 'em foot, that's a Creole signpost. It was left to you by the traditional Aboriginal owners of the country through which you're travelling. And it's to indicate to you that you need to take your foot off the accelerator. You've got to slow down because there might be big washout up ahead. That's like a pothole that takes up the whole road. Or there might be a mob of cattle. Maybe it's a sudden bend in the road. But the message is this. If you continue at your current speed, you're not going to be in a position to avert disaster. This idea of lift 'em foot is the Creole signpost, slow down sign, a message that I'd like to explore with you today. The thing about lift 'em foot is that the second we take our foot off the accelerator, off the fuel feed button, we've saved some fuel. So figuratively, this fuel can be set aside and used for later. Maybe we'll come up with a better use for it. Not only this, but we're slowing down. And this gives us time. This actually gives us time to evaluate all of the decisions that we've got ahead of us and to use the vast amounts of information we've got available to us now online. So, once we've got that time to evaluate those decisions ahead of us, we can choose consistently, not for convenience, but to sometimes, more often, and then finally, maybe all the time, choose the least energy-intensive way of doing things that we might actually know that and embrace that because that might be what we're leaving for future generations. So how could we put this idea of lift 'em foot into practice? Well, let's think about lift 'em foot transport. What options have we got aside from zipping around in our little glass and metal boxes on wheels? Well, we could stay at home. We could fuse the functions of many trips into one. We could work from home. But then if we do have to travel, maybe we can take the larger glass and metal boxes on wheels because then we're signalling to public transport providers that these options of communal travel are important to us and that we want them to be clean, we want them to be energy efficient. We're also giving ourselves the downtime when we choose that public transport option because we've got time. Laptop computing, reading, plugged into your favourite music, interweaving with our community by conversing with your fellow commuters. We have that time then. Maybe it's time to do nothing. Don't you love that? What if we carpool or we car share? Here again, we're increasing our social and our emotional togetherness because by sharing that 10, 20, 30-minute commute or that one-off journey with another person in the car, we're deepening that relationship with that person. It might otherwise only just be a stop, say hello in the tea room or a say hello down the street. So these are really important experiences we need to open up to. Don't get me wrong, I know it's hard to negotiate shared commute times. It's difficult to negotiate shared fuel prices, shared fuel costs. But these are the experiences we actually need to open ourselves up to, because we may have this feeling of vulnerability more often as we enter into a time of energy descent. The energy descent, well, that would be what's in the road. That's what's up ahead if we were talking about the signpost. You know, lift and foot is something we could put into application for any number of problems. But for today, I want to look at it specifically with the eyes of energy descent. Energy descent is the whole conundrum of using less fossil fuels to limit the effects of climate change, to cope with increased fuel prices, and to manage when there is less fuel available. I talked a few versions of, lift and foot transport through, but I didn't even mention the most fuel efficient ways of getting around. And they are to use the food that we've eaten, to ride our bikes, or to walk. When we choose these lift and foot options, they are true lift and foot options because it's at that pace of riding or of walking that we slow down to be open and to be sensitive to the world that's around us. We can really sense what temperature it is. We can see what insects, what animals are around. We can see what trees are in blossom and what fruit may follow. I think it's fantastic how many families are getting out and about with their baby seats and their tag-alongs and their trailers, because these families are ensuring that their children have a sense of mobility and freedom when fossil fuels are no longer so readily available. Parents can engender their children with feelings of understanding for the benefits to be gained in this process of energy descent. We have a role to engender that understanding and an appreciation for the benefits to be gained as a community as we enter into a process of energy descent. That's our role in the blood. If we move now from lift and foot transport to lift and foot food, what could lift and foot food be about? What could lift and foot eating be about? Well, for a start, we really need to be thinking about recycling our food wastes. They're saying that of all of the food that Australians bring home from the supermarket, a quarter of it is being chucked out. Now, I really think we owe it to our farmers and to our food producers to ensure that this food is recycled through worm farms and through composting back into the soil nutrients that surround us, because this enables us to have better chances of success when it comes to growing our own food. By growing our own food in our backyards, on our balconies, on our median strips, in our schools, by our workplaces, we're decreasing the need for fossil fuel, for the transportation of food, and we're also asserting a role when it comes to addressing the fossil fuel dependence of large-scale agriculture. When we've transformed our urban landscapes that are already irrigated, I might add, into foodscapes, we develop a deep and enduring sense of identity and a connection with the seasons and the cycles, all be they changing. We're also improving the habitat for other species. And through reconnecting with this sense of place, this sense of identity and a feeling of belonging, we are able to vision our role in escorting the genetic adaptations of the edible flora that is around us in our local environment to sustain food security for future generations. future generations who must withstand unpredictable seasons and haphazard growing conditions. Fossil fuel powered people of the audience. Fossil fuel empowered people online. Who can see where lift and foot, taking your foot off the fuel feed button, if only just once a week to start with, is a viable option? Who's ready to embrace that challenge of making the most of energy descent with lift and foot transport to possibly carpool, travel by public bus, train or tram, to walk or to ride, to possibly work from home, or to fuse many trips' purpose into one? Give me an oi! Woo! Fossil fuel empowered people in the audience and fossil fuel empowered people online. Who's ready to take on the challenges of lift and foot food? That is, to possibly shop at their local growers market, to recycle some of their food waste, all of their food waste, into better growing medium that they may have success in growing their own food. Give me an oi! Oi! Oh, that's terrific. Well done, everyone. I wanted to finish with a song because I thought that would be a really good way for us to actualise our intent. So what I'm suggesting is that we sing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cue you to take a big breath, because essentially what we're doing is we're putting the mantra of lift and foot out into the air molecules. So I'm going to give you a big cue like this to take a big breath, and then that cue to sing. All right, so here we go. You up for it? Yeah. It's good. Singing's great. Singing's great. Okay. Lift 'em foot.